Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. There was a wine glass balanced on the edge of the bathroom sink. Lipstick smudged. Still warm. She didn't know I was home. I hadn't meant to be. My shift ended early. The college servers were running clean, and I figured I'd surprise her with takeout and one of those lame game nights she used to love before she didn't do board games anymore. But when I stepped inside, the lights were dim, the air smelled like vanilla candle smoke, and I heard her voice behind the half-shut door of our laundry room. She was talking to no one. I just feel like I've tried, and I'm exhausted. It's not you, it's me. Then silence. Then a dramatic exhale. And then she did it again. Same words. Different tone. Softer. Almost like she was sympathizing with a dying pet. I just need time to find myself again. We've drifted, Landon. Don't you feel it too? My heart slid into my throat. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I listened. And then she laughed. I sound like a soap opera, she said, chuckling. God, I need a better opener. She was rehearsing. Rehearsing a speech to me, one I hadn't heard yet, for a breakup I didn't know was coming. She went on for 23 minutes. I know because I recorded it. Every version. Every fake pause. Every crocodile tear she forced out, then wiped away with a dry tissue like she was checking her makeup. She even said, at one point, he'll probably cry. Just don't back down. He's soft. I leaned against the wall and thought, is this what 8 years becomes? A one-woman stage play? She was practicing how to leave me. And I was 3 feet away, still holding her favorite pad thai in a paper bag. By the time she came out, humming, cheerful, completely unaware, I was already on the bedroom floor pretending to tie my shoe. She kissed the top of my head like nothing was wrong, like the script hadn't already been written. But what she didn't know, I was about to rewrite the ending. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. I lay there, flat on my back, next to her warm, sleeping body, staring at the ceiling like it held some secret message that would tell me what to do next. My stomach kept turning with this deep, acidic mix of humiliation and disbelief. I kept asking myself, how long had she been planning this? Did I miss signs? Or was I just too easy to manipulate? At 2:17 a.m., I got out of bed. Quietly, I tiptoed downstairs to my computer, opened a private browser, and typed something I never imagined I'd be typing. How to file for divorce in Ohio without your spouse knowing. There it was, step-by-step instructions. I read it like it was a bomb manual. I wasn't just hurt anymore. I was done, but I didn't want to leave her with a speech. I wanted to leave her with silence. A clean, clinical strike. No emotion, just paperwork and reality. And then I remembered something. Her office potluck. Serafina had been going on and on about it for weeks. Oh, we're doing a retro theme. I'm making mini meatloaves. She'd even bought a ridiculous 70s outfit for it. It was the only event she seemed to genuinely care about lately. More than our anniversary, more than anything we did together. That's when the thought hit me. What if I served her back? Literally. At her potluck. I didn't even smile when I thought it. It wasn't funny. It wasn't even satisfying. It was sad. But it was the only way I could make sure she never got to deliver her rehearsed lines. Not with her perfect mascara and faux sympathy voice. That morning, I told her I'd be working overtime all week. She barely reacted, just nodded and scrolled through her phone. I watched her lips twitch as she typed, maybe texting someone, maybe rehearsing her next act in her mind. She didn't even notice the ring I'd taken off my finger and placed in my pocket. By lunch, I had a lawyer. By 3 p.m., I had the documents in motion. And by the end of the week, I had the perfect plan. See, her company loved little events. They were always inviting partners to their themed office socials, encouraging us to play nice and sip punch while pretending our relationships weren't crumbling behind fake smiles. So I RSVP'd. I even asked her what dish I should bring. She said, just grab cookies from the store. Don't embarrass me. On the day of the event, I shaved. I wore the sweater she always hated, the one she said made me look like an unemployed professor. Then I drove to her office with a plate of sugar cookies in one hand and a folder in the other. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was hollow. As I stepped into that corporate jungle filled with paper streamers and crock pots, her coworkers greeted me with fake warmth. I could smell microwaved meatballs and betrayal in the air. And there she was, laughing near the punch table, dressed like a disco queen, holding a paper plate of deviled eggs and lies. She didn't see me at first. But when she did, her smile didn't fade. It froze. She walked over slowly, the way someone approaches a wild animal they're not sure will bite. "Hey," she said, almost too cheerfully. "Didn't think you'd actually show." "I wouldn't miss it," I said, handing her the folder. "You like being the center of attention, right?" I could see the color drain from her face, even through the thick layer of blush she'd carefully applied for the office cameras. Her fingers hesitated at the flap, eyes darting from the bold red label to my expression, searching for a hint of sarcasm, a signal that this was some weird joke. But I gave her nothing. No smirk, no anger, just stillness. I wasn't there to yell. I was there to end things. Officially, legally, and on my terms. She opened it with this half-fake smile frozen on her face, trying to maintain her hostess of the hour image while her world crumbled under fluorescent lights. I had slid the divorce papers right on top, front and center, with the date and the words "filed and delivered" underlined in blue. I also included a list of the recent charges she'd made to our joint account. Hotel bookings, 2 pairs of dress shoes that weren't her size, Uber trips at 1:43 a.m. And my favorite, a bouquet sent to someone named R. I highlighted that one. She didn't say anything for a few seconds. Just stared at the papers like they were written in a language she didn't understand. Then she looked up at me, her lips parting slightly, and I could see the storm building behind her eyes. "You're seriously doing this here?" she whispered, her voice sharp, brittle, like cracked porcelain. "Why not? You rehearsed for this moment, didn't you? Just not the version where you're the one getting blindsided," I replied. A few of her coworkers had started watching from across the room. One guy in a tie-dye button-up blinked slowly at the sight of the folder. Someone else pretended to refill the punch just to eavesdrop. Serafina's boss, a short woman with way too many pins on her blazer, was approaching with a nervous, "Everything okay?" kind of expression. Serafina's mask started to slip. Her smile faltered, her nostrils flared, and she clenched the folder so hard the edges bent. "You're humiliating me," she hissed under her breath. "No," I said, leaning closer. "You did that when you thought I'd never figure it out. This is just the closing scene you never got to direct." I turned around and walked toward the door before she could say another word. I didn't want to hear her excuses. I didn't want to give her the audience. I left the cookies on the table like a peace offering no one asked for and stepped out into the cold air, exhaling for what felt like the first time in months. But just when I thought the performance was over, my phone buzzed. 3 missed calls from her. 1 voicemail. And a text that simply read, "Come back. We need to talk. You don't understand everything." I just sat in my car gripping the steering wheel, the air stale and heavy. My fingers hovered over the play button like it might explode if I pressed it. Part of me didn't want to hear her voice again. I'd already spent weeks listening to a version of her that wasn't real. Her rehearsed sorrow, her fake empathy, her emotional monologue aimed not at my heart, but at her own clean escape. But the other part of me, the pathetic, hopeless side, was still hoping there was some piece of truth in that message. Something that would explain why the woman I married had turned into a stranger with perfect mascara and a flawless exit strategy. When I finally tapped play, her voice poured into the silence like poison wrapped in honey. "Landon, please. Just call me back. You weren't supposed to find out like this. I had a plan. A clean break. I wanted to spare you pain, not cause more of it. You don't understand what's happening, and it's bigger than just you and me. I need you to come home." Bigger than us. What did that even mean? The words rang in my ears long after the voicemail ended. I sat there in a haze, rereading her text, replaying her voice, watching a second missed call blink onto my screen like a heartbeat I couldn't shut off. That's when a notification from my bank app popped up. A transaction alert. One I didn't authorize. Someone had withdrawn $600 from our joint account using a physical card. Her card. At an address I didn't recognize. Something snapped. I opened up our banking history and started combing through it, line by line. Lyft rides, delivery apps, hotel minibar charges. All recent. All under her name. And all while I thought she was working late or needing space. But then I saw a recurring name. R. Livingston. A payment memo attached to a Venmo transfer read, "For the cabin weekend." I got the wine, winky face. My chest tightened. R. It wasn't just a name on a bouquet anymore. It wasn't some random colleague or a made-up contact. Whoever this R was, she was spending money on him, planning weekends, sending winks in parentheses like I didn't even exist. I snapped a screenshot and sent it to her without a single word. 2 minutes later, she responded with, "You don't get to do this. This is private." That money was mine too. I almost laughed. After everything, the lies, the rehearsed exit, the potluck spectacle, she was still trying to control the narrative, still acting like I was the one crossing a line. But here's the thing. That text confirmed something for me. This wasn't just betrayal. It was strategy. She wanted out, but on her terms. She wanted to blindside me, collect sympathy from her friends, maybe even keep access to some of our finances while painting me as the unstable, fragile husband who just couldn't handle losing her. Too bad I flipped the script. And yet, that one line from her voicemail wouldn't leave my head. "It's bigger than just you and me." I needed to know what she meant. I needed to see her face when I asked her directly. Not because I wanted to forgive her, not because I wanted her back, but because something told me I hadn't uncovered the worst of it yet. So I texted back, "Fine. You want to talk? We'll talk. But I'm recording everything." She told me to meet her at her sister's condo. Neutral ground. I hadn't seen her sister, Dana, in over a year, but I remembered her as the kind of person who always seemed one step away from live tweeting your worst moment. So yeah, I brought my phone. Fully charged. Voice recorder on. If Serafina wanted to stage another performance, I was going to get the full show this time. Unedited, unscripted, and painfully real. When I arrived, she was already there, sitting on the edge of the beige leather couch like someone waiting for a dentist. She didn't look angry. She didn't even look ashamed. She looked nervous. Not because of me, though. Her hands were fidgeting with her phone like she was waiting for something else, or someone. I closed the door behind me and stood near the entrance. No hug. No handshake. No small talk. "Start talking," I said. She sighed and didn't meet my eyes. "You weren't supposed to hear the rehearsal." "Yeah," I said, crossing my arms. "That's the part one keep coming back to. You weren't sorry you rehearsed a speech. You were sorry I heard it. I didn't want to hurt you. You were planning a fake, pre-written exit speech like it was a TED Talk. That wasn't not trying to hurt me. That was trying to control the damage. Make sure you walked away with a clean reputation and maybe some pity claps." She flinched at that. Good. Then came the line that caught me completely off guard. "He told me you were fragile." My blood went cold. "Who?" I asked, already knowing I wouldn't like the answer. She looked up, finally. "Raymond R. Livingston. The man behind the wine, the cabin, the bouquet. He said you'd spiral. That if I didn't handle it delicately, you'd crash. That you'd make a scene, maybe even hurt yourself." I didn't believe him at first, but then you started asking questions, getting distant. I panicked. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Not only had she rehearsed leaving me, she'd done it under the influence of a man who saw me as a ticking time bomb, a threat, and she listened to him, trusted him more than she trusted the man who had folded her laundry for 6 years and brought her soup every time she had a cold. "So this Raymond," I said slowly, "was he coaching you through the breakup? Is he your therapist now? Or just your boyfriend?" She bit her lip, and I knew. I already knew. "He's married," she said, voice small. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was pathetic. She wasn't just a liar. She was someone's mistress. A woman who had thrown away her marriage for a man who probably still tucked his ring in his wallet during lunch meetings. "Let me guess," I said. "He was going to leave his wife. You were going to start over together. New life, new apartment, yoga on weekends, farmers market brunches." It wasn't like that. No? What was it like, Serafina? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you threw me under a bus just to make room for the man driving it. Silence. She didn't deny it. She didn't even defend him. She just sat there, hollow and shaking, like the words were finally catching up to her. "I thought I loved him," she whispered. "But he ghosted me 2 days ago." I blinked. "Wait, what?" She nodded, tears finally threatening to form. "After the potluck. After you handed me those papers." He stopped replying. Blocked me everywhere. I went to his office. He'd already told security I wasn't allowed in. So there it was. The final twist in her carefully written script. The man she rehearsed her big exit for had already exited the stage himself. Left her standing in the spotlight, speech in hand, and no one left to hear it. It was worse than that. Her tears came out quiet, like she didn't even have the energy to pretend anymore. For once, Serafina wasn't performing. She just sat there, eyes glassy, mascara threatening to betray her perfect image, completely undone by the man she tried to replace me with. I should have been glad, right? I should have felt like justice had been served on a silver platter, garnished with karma. But instead, all I felt was this strange emptiness, like watching a house you used to live in burn down from a distance, and realizing the photos you left behind are gone for good. I didn't think he'd just vanish, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I thought we had a plan. We talked about moving to Seattle, starting over. He said he was tired of pretending with his wife. He said I was his future. Let me guess, I muttered, right before he went radio silent. He probably told you he needed time to get everything in order. Said you should be patient, that it'd be worth it. Her head dropped lower. Classic, I added. I almost walked out then. I should have, but I couldn't. Not yet, because something still didn't add up. I wasn't there for her breakdown. I was there to find out what she meant when she said this was bigger than just you and me. That part had been gnawing at me ever since the voicemail. And now, with her sitting there exposed, I figured this was my one shot at the truth. What did you mean by that? I asked. When you said it wasn't just about us. What else is going on? She hesitated. That pause, it wasn't fear. It was calculation. She wasn't sure if telling me would make her look better or worse. And that alone told me the answer was going to sting. There's money involved, she finally said. I tensed. What kind of money? She shifted uncomfortably on the couch. Raymond. He convinced me to open a separate account. Said we should have something just ours. He wired money into it. I didn't ask where it came from. I didn't want to know. But I transferred some of our savings too. Just to make it even. You what? I thought we'd be building a life together. He said it was safer to start fresh that way. Safer for who? She flinched. I didn't drain it, Landon. But I moved enough. I thought we were in love. You thought you were planning a fairy tale. You were actually laundering money for a married scam artist. The room fell into a sharp, suffocating silence. All I could hear was my own pulse ringing in my ears. So not only did she lie, rehearse, cheat, and humiliate me, she also jeopardized our entire financial security based on promises from a man who couldn't even stay through a potluck. I'm going to fix it, she said, trying to straighten herself up. I'll move it back. I'll talk to the bank. You won't do anything without a lawyer. And without me present. You've already done enough on your own. I could see in her face that she was panicking now, not because she lost him, but because she realized what she'd cost herself. Our savings, her image, her leverage in the divorce. This wasn't a woman mourning a relationship. This was a woman realizing the ground beneath her was vanishing. I never meant to destroy you, she said. You didn't destroy me, Serafina. You just made sure I saw you clearly. For the first time. I turned to leave, but before I stepped out, I stopped in the doorway and added, and if you ever try to touch that money again, I won't just serve you papers. I'll press charges. And I meant it. The number was unfamiliar, but the area code made my stomach drop before I even answered. Seattle. I let it ring once, twice. I nearly declined the call, thinking it might be Serafina trying from a different phone. But curiosity overpowered resentment, and I swiped to answer, holding my breath like I was stepping onto thin ice. The voice on the other end was sharp, clipped, and without hesitation. Is this Landon Miller? I confirmed, and then came a pause that made me think I was about to get hit with something nuclear. My name is Eliza Livingston. I'm Raymond's wife. I pulled over immediately, hands shaking, heart racing. I wasn't ready. I had prepared myself for legal battles, for more lies, for Serafina's crocodile tears. But not for her. Not for the wife of the man who helped burn my marriage to the ground. She didn't waste time. I know everything. About your wife. About the account. About the hotels. And I thought you should know my husband is gone. Gone? I asked, trying to stay composed. As in vanished. He left our apartment 3 days ago. His work says he took personal leave. His cards are frozen. His car's missing. And the money, our savings, our investments, he drained everything. Including the account he convinced your wife to open. I felt like the world was spinning too fast. I gripped the steering wheel just to keep myself grounded. You're saying Serafina got scammed? Worse, she replied. She helped him scam us, whether she knew it or not. There was a silence between us. A heavy one. Not angry, not even awkward. Just the shared horror of two people realizing they'd been collateral damage in someone else's con. Eliza went on to explain that Raymond had a history. There were sealed records, NDAs, a former employer who quietly terminated him after a hush-hush financial investigation. She had suspected something before, but he always covered his tracks well, emotionally manipulative, charming, precise. But this time, there were receipts, texts, wire transfers, pictures of him and Serafina at a cabin she never knew he'd visited. "I want to find him," she said. "But I also want to bury him legally. And I need your help." I sat there stunned, unsure if I was being recruited for justice or revenge. Probably both. But something inside me, the part that had watched Serafina cry over a man who ghosted her, the part that had handed her divorce papers like a mirror, felt strangely alive. Not out of spite, but out of this sharp, necessary hunger for the truth. "I'll share everything I have," I said. "Every receipt, every email, every transaction. You deserve to know." She thanked me, sincerely. Then, before hanging up, she said something that I haven't been able to forget. "You and I? We're not victims, Landon. We're just the ones who got out before the final curtain. That's something." I ended the call and stared at my own reflection in the dark screen of my phone. And for once, I didn't see a broken man. I saw someone who finally understood the full weight of what had happened. My wife hadn't just betrayed me emotionally. She'd walked straight into the arms of a con artist and handed him the keys to our lives. When I opened the door, I barely recognized her. Serafina looked like someone who had run through a thunderstorm barefoot and backward. Her blouse was wrinkled, mascara smeared in faint trails under her eyes, and her voice trembled with something I'd never seen in her before, genuine fear. She stepped forward, but I didn't move. I kept the door halfway closed, like a line drawn in the sand. "I need protection," she whispered. "He's not who I thought he was. I think he might come after me." There was no anger in me anymore. No fire. Just a hollow place where trust used to live. "You helped him take money. You didn't stop him. You chose him over me." "I know," she said, her voice cracking. "I was wrong about everything. But he's dangerous, Landon. I'm scared. I don't know where else to go." It would have been easy to slam the door, to tell her she made her choices and now she had to live with them. But there's something strange about seeing the person who once held all the power finally fall apart in front of you. It doesn't bring satisfaction. It brings clarity. I didn't know her love, but I could offer her a safe distance from the man who played us both. "I'm not letting you in," I said, calm and measured. "But I'll make some calls. If you're truly in danger, I'll help you get in touch with someone who can protect you. Legally. Properly." She nodded slowly. "That's all I ask." We didn't hug. We didn't cry. She left just as quickly as she'd arrived, and I haven't seen her since. But I kept my word. I gave Eliza everything I had, the records, the screenshots, the account activity. She filed a joint fraud complaint, and a few weeks later, I got a message from her. "He's being investigated. You helped more than you know." The money's gone, and I'm still climbing out of the financial mess. But the weight of her deception? That's finally off my chest. And for the first time in years, I'm waking up without wondering which version of my wife I'll face. There's peace in that. As for Serafina, last I heard, she moved out of state. No one knows where. And honestly, I don't need to know. Whatever healing she finds, I hope it's real this time. Because mine is. I started therapy. I adopted a rescue dog named Milo who thinks every visitor is a potential snack distributor. I learned how to cook something that isn't frozen. And I've even started dating again, slowly, cautiously. Not because I need someone, but because I want to share this version of myself with someone who sees me clearly. Not as a prop in their story, but as a person finally writing his own. Thank you for sticking with me through this roller coaster on Reddit Confessions.